Yeah, so here we are. We're going to go ahead and watch the Sumail video about playing the mid lane. And I'm just going to give you guys my honest thoughts from anything he says, good or bad, and what I learned from it. And we'll see exactly what Sumail's got to teach us.
Banana slam jam.
Okay, so in this episode, I'm going to talk about laning phase matchups, I guess. Very specific matchups and how to do or what to do in these scenarios. So in this game, I'm playing Void Spirit versus SF, which is actually one of the worst matchups for Void Spirit, I would say. Because it's usually what happens in Dota is some matchups they gradually get worse or better for you, whatever. But this one is harder from first wave. But since I got a good block, it allowed me to secure first wave, which was a pretty big deal. I got level 2 right away.
I think the dynamic of matchups getting worse or better over time is important, that he mentions it, but I think with that kind of thing to like a newer player or somebody really trying to learn, you probably wouldn't really understand like why that's the case. So maybe like a little bit more of a breakdown would have been good.
And I mean, in these kind of lanes, you need to understand that SF is going to be spending a lot of gold on consumables. So even if he's ahead of you in creeps, it's not as bad. Also, his levels are not going to do as much as yours because you're a Void Spirit and you're more mobile than SF. Even if you lose the lane slightly or big time, you will be able to apply more pressure as long as you didn't give him
I feel like he used really good aggressive spells there and just kind of like doesn't mention it. He talks about like why mobility wise you scale better than SF, but he's also saying that he'll have to buy a bunch of mango to harass you. And like my argument would be like low MMR players, they're probably not gonna like spam mangoes. So I think these type of condition things are it's like if this hero wants to bully you, if this hero wants to play aggressive on you, he will buy mangoes. Just like a little disclaimer in there.
Didn't get too destroyed.
Maybe assuming people like understand is okay in some cases,
as
but
long
it
as
definitely
you play
get
for
that
the early
vibe so
bottle,
far.
you don't want to spend a lot of gold on stats or whatever because they're not really going to help you. Yeah, in this matchup, my entire goal
play
was
for region and disadvantageous matchups.
Get shoved out of the lane by trying to get everything. So I did sacrifice. I gave up a couple of creep waves or whatever, or not creep waves, but a couple of creeps, just to be high HP, because I'm very prone to dying in this lane. So this is something you can actively look for. There aren't many of these one-sided matchups, but this is one of them. You can see like I tried to. He was out of position. I tried to harass him, but it didn't really work out. Anyways, because yeah, it was a bad trade, which. Just because I actually made this mistake of doing this, I could have played it safe because I still have region, same amount of region, but I need to keep mine because he would have pushed the wave anyways into me because I could have annoyed him by just trying to deny, which makes him raise, and I tank a razor maybe or something, and then he pushed the wave into me. Now, if I'm full HP, I can contest this under my tower because he can only raise me because of tower aggro. He can never attack me, so I still have. I might be able to get better trade if I didn't make the mistake. But what ended up happening is I used my tango, I used all my charges on bottle, and I'm still low HP. So what he does is the correct move in this lane. He plays super aggro. He glyphs this wave for my E. If he didn't do it, it would have been fine because I would have gotten creeps, get the bunny, whatever. But now I am missing out on 2 waves because of one. Misstep I made. Or
I like to hear his narration of like kind of like his thoughts in the game and like what the other guy is thinking too. So like he's saying I'm weak because I did this mistake, and at the highest level I think really important to emphasize to everyone watching is that people understand this, right? The SF understands what's going through the Void Spirit's mind, at least like, you know, vaguely. So he sees like this weakness, the SF sees the weakness and then looks to punish it, and Sumail knows like this punishment is correct, like he knows he's vulnerable to this, he can't really do much about it. And when it comes to like being aggro, like that's pretty much all it is, right? Is making sure they can't counterplay you. And he's talking about this dynamic very well. I like to hear his thoughts on it. Oops.
Me losing actually 6 creeps, so kind of turned out to be a big deal. But I didn't get too greedy about it, and
So
I
he's
didn't
talking
give him a kill.
about how good or bad things are based on how many creeps he's missing. Very important.
So it's not that bad because he has used a lot of mangoes and stuff. So even though he has way higher CS, he has 8 creeps on me. The number doesn't look as bad. It's only 200 gold difference, which is fine because I'm also almost same XP as him. So it's something. It's just a trade-off. Also, I let my carry have the last pick, so there's that too. I allowed him to have better carry matchup overall, and this SF took last pick. So it's fine for me to not do super well in this lane.
So basically, he's saying your order in the draft. People ask me like, what happens if I'm forced to pick earlier on? The earlier on you pick, the less expectations you should have out of your lane if you get countered. And he's telling you that's like an important thing. Like you're gonna get an expected value out of whatever lane you're playing, and he's been thinking pretty critically about that since minute 0, it seems.
That is the basic. I mean, my game plan here is to secure the rune, to get the rune somehow, and get 6. I told my lich to TP mid, refill my bottle, which allowed me to stay, and he ended up dying to us.
Okay, he told his lich to TP mid and fill his bottle. I will tell you guys, from my own personal experience in like competitive back in the day, and even in pubs, mid laners are notoriously bad at just asking their team for things. Like, don't demand it, don't be whiners, but notice how he said a simple thing of, I need my lich to fill mid, so he said, lich, can you come fill my bottle mid? That communication of what you need in lane, like, he kind of downplays it, because, like, he's Sumail, and he knows, like, he's good at this. He's, like, you know, he got trained by fear himself in PPD and shit. But, like, that communication, super important.
And
Small thing that goes a long way.
And now I have this option to make a move bottom. Because there's no SF, and I don't really want to lane anymore, I guess. And also my hero doesn't farm small cam efficiently.
So he talks about all the reasons he wouldn't rotate. So I'm a huge believer in this, is that not rotating is because your lane is good, right? Like whatever you're doing is like very high efficiency, very high impact. So he's saying he doesn't want to lane against SF, so being in lane itself is not all that enticing. And the main source of like farm acceleration for mid laners, which is the small camp, his hero doesn't really farm. So he's like, put these 2 and 2 together and saying, because my mid lane is inefficient for me, I'm going to go rotate. And I think that's like a super important mentality of mid lane, and Sumail kind of just tells you in like 3 words, you know?
So I went for this bottom rune and gank, and I ended up getting this solo kill, which is better than me just staying around here, contesting this wave into level 7 SF, who's just gonna raise me out.
So that's some support kills 225 gold. So all this is added up to him saying that 225 gold is better this game than it would be to lane, but certain games it's not going to be.
And
right?
I also
so that's
slowed
very
down.
fascinating.
So Grim didn't have TP, so my Doom is also safe for a bit, even though I didn't kill the CK, but he will be fine knowing that Grim can't be here. So he also gets a lot of space out of this one move I made.
Damn, editing production value. Oh, he didn't even mention that, but the ward's expiring at 5 minutes. Okay. Nighttime vision, ward's expiring. He's not gonna have the information to see this lich TPing in. During day, if he saw, he'd probably see that. They get the kill. Okay. All started by telling his lich to TP mid. None of this would have happened if he hadn't said to tell his lich, you know, I need a bottle refill mid. So supports lives matter, guys. Supports lives matter.
I could have I could have chosen to just farm small camp, go to base or whatever, and then TP into somewhere, but just because I tried to make the move faster, it resulted into two things. I got the boundary rune, I got the kill, actually three things, and I ruined the Grim's rotation in a way, because now my Doom is able to pressure CK and the tower.
So he's been like really emphasizing like the vision of the entire game, you know? I think once again, mid laners, they live in their own little world. And what super high level mid laner we're hearing from him is like, I think about my supports play, I think about objectives like bounty runes, I think of how my moves help my teammates, you know.
As you can see, I went for the rune, didn't work, and then I think, yeah, I go here, I kind of feed, but that's life. I was trying to make a play, and so I see my CK is rushing bottom at this point, and again, my Ench is sitting mid. She's getting free XP, free gold. But it would have been pretty stupid for me to move to TP mid right away to get these waves. And I also see their CK through this ops. Now he's gonna shell wave, so I TP.
Notice how he is commenting on everything his team is doing and how he's basically like not griefing them, right? His support's getting levels mid. I feel like whenever I have like the god tier mid laners on my team, I feel like they kind of just cater to me. Like whatever role I'm playing. If I'm a support, they let me have the lane if they can do something else. The thing about mid is you get levels really early and you're a 2 position. Like you need to farm, but like you can do other things, right? So I just really like, maybe it's subtle, I'm not sure if it is to you guys, but like he's really emphasizing how much he thinks about the other people in his team and what they're doing. So if his support wasn't mid right now, he'd probably just TP mid and push it out, right? But since he had somebody there already, there's no point.
Yeah, we went for this dive. We get a kill on CK. We actually get double kill here, which led to this tower. So it's just small things you can think about, which can be potentially the most rewarding play, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But
an interesting part about that is it was 10-minute rune. Like it was 9:50 when he was respawning. I feel like 90% of mids would have gone mid there to get the rune, and he just didn't because he saw a better play and he had an enchantress already getting levels.
In this case, everything I tried to do.
Runes are meant to make plays, right? So
but
why not?
That's gonna happen when you're
rune?
trying to do too much, I guess. So it's fine. You shouldn't be bothered by it or hesitant in the next play you make just because you messed up once.
His mentality is really good. I like the way he talks about his mentality. He's basically just like, yeah, I fed in the jungle. That's life. Run it back. You know, he's not letting himself be dissuaded. I feel like mid laners, you need to have like no fear, you know?
Okay, so in this matchup, this is the opposite of what I explained in the past game, I guess. It's very important for me to get the block, which I ended up missing. It's kind of... It could have been a big deal, but I think this guy also didn't block too well. Yeah, I mean, let's say if he got it in his tower, I think it would have been harder for me to deny. Because I also opted for Dragon Slave. This build is kind of less greedy. It's more safe choice because you peak hard on level 3. I could have opted for stun, which is more pressure early levels, easier to deny, easier to harass, but it's just something you need to decide for yourself what route you want to go. You want to go super pressure from the start, or also the difference between Lina Ember and Void SF is SF has an edge on me from the very first wave, but in this matchup, Ember is super fine for the first 2 levels, or first 2 waves, and it should get worse for him because I'm gonna get max attack speed almost all the time now.
So he's basically saying that his skill point level 1 single-handedly reflected like how he was planning to play the lane for like 3 levels. So I think that that's really interesting because he's saying you have 2 options. You can go really aggressive with your stun level 1 and 2, or you can play, like you said, kind of the greedier route where you'll be weaker level 1 and 2 but stronger level 3. And what I'm hearing is that maybe he's tried the other one against Ember to level stun and felt like it didn't do enough level 1 and 2, that it was better to play for the level 3 timing. And so I think what I gather from this that's really cool is he constructed a plan. He knows what his skills do in regards to how he wants to play the lane. And based on his own experience in the game, I feel like that's really the only way to gather this knowledge. You can't really theory craft it. He doesn't want to do the early aggressive build against Ember. He wants to do the greedier build. And so he plays it this way.
And I need to make sure that I keep hitting him as much as I can. Because even though he has bottle and he can get these runes, Lina harasses too much versus melee heroes, and usually they can't sustain. So that's my goal. It's hard to deny versus level 2 shield. He has a lot of... He pretty much hits a creep for like 80 damage with QB, and I do 60, whatever, melee creep because of armor. So it's easier for him to get the CS, so my goal is to just hit him and make sure that eventually I don't even have to like CS better than him in order to deny and stuff. This way I can just make sure that he is not even able to contest it at all.
He's saying Ember has higher damage, so the best way to secure last hits and denies is make it so Ember can't hit the creeps in the first place, which is done by harass. Cool.
The thing is, Dr. 1 mid lane being easy is the small camp. I could have told my team to block it, but usually it doesn't happen. It happens effectively in official games because you have strategy time and you talk about it. You are pretty much talking all the time from the draft what you're gonna do, so it's easier to do that. But let's say if he didn't get those camps, he would be super ruined. Let's see how much gold he got. So he's level 3 right now, 3 and 4. He's gonna get level 4 and he's gonna get 130 gold, which he can never get actually, because the wave is here.
That's 3 creeps.
And if he comes up, he would just get hit like he's getting hit right now. So this camp allows these matchups to be a bit better than they used to be, and the water runes as well. I mean, it is, but at the same time, I want to keep the stacks. So even if when it pushes this tower, I have max stacks, so he can't contest, and I almost have the same range as tower, so I can always hit him outside the tower range. So I always want to keep his stacks as much as I can. Of course, you run out of mana problem because at the same time, I shouldn't be pressured, but you feel pressured in a way that you know this guy's farming small camp, so he's not getting as destroyed. So while I'm trying to harass him out of the lane, I'm also trying to greed up a bit by farming small camps myself.
So he's saying that he wants to be aggressive because he's winning the matchup, but he also knows the other guy's getting farm from the small camp, which he can't really do anything about. So his response, since he knows he can't be aggressive to punish that, is to play his own game of farm, you know, like to make sure he gets his own farm.
That's why I ran out of mana too. It's just something you need to...
I like that mentality. I like the...
It's just something you need to be at
nice
peace
breakdown
with.
by Sumail there.
You can't super efficiently do both, but he did end up going back to base.
Maybe my translations for you guys are like unnecessary. You totally get what he's saying already, but you know, that's my kind of goal is to interpret what I'm seeing
here. You can see
here.
the number different. It's going to keep getting worse for him.
Yeah, he's constantly being aggressive.
And in this matchup, he is kind of fine playing this matchup because of his supports. Caudal enables Ember a lot. Like, let's say if I had Caudal, it wouldn't do the same thing as it would do for Ember. And then this guy refills bottle mid, and I think they make sure that they get the rune.
Don't be mad.
No, actually they didn't, and I got lucky. So okay, what happened was, this is actually big, right? I don't know if they talked about it because he did put an observer, and they see me go for this top rune, and I get invis here. Okay, maybe the obs was out of invis range, so they didn't see, but I walked back in. But he didn't communicate with Morph, or maybe Morph didn't look. So I could have just gone back to mid and shove him out, but it wouldn't really do much because the lane's pushing and he is like raindrop. I can't really kill him anymore. So I went for this top move. Let's say if I had Regen or DD, I would have opted for neutral camps, or I would have, because there's no way I kill Morph without Invis. This is the only rune that allows me to kill him. So I went top.
I have always emphasized that Dota is so much like poker. You know, you get dealt certain hands, there's RNG, you can't really control the cards you get, but whatever you're dealt, you need to make the most of it. So I think what Sumail's did there is really cool, where he mentioned, like, if I got this rune or this rune, I would have just played for farm. If I got this rune, specifically against Morph, because he can't get Morph off, or he can't Morph stats, Invis is the only rune that lets me kill him. So that's like a very in-depth knowledge of matchups, a very in-depth knowledge of like understanding exactly what runes he would do with what. But I think what he's emphasizing to you guys, which is really cool, is basically whatever hero you're playing over time when you're getting better and experiencing different things, is like to understand that different runes mean different things, and like learning to think like, what does this rune do for my hero, right? So
Because I had the siege
very
trip at
cool.
the time, I could have pressured mid with other runes, but this was the best scenario for me to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't really
And
help you
this
pressure
is,
mid tower to
This
get
is
an
the
Invis
most
rune.
one of the most important aspects I talked about. Let's say if this Jakiro, who did the correct thing for the first 30 minutes after 5 minute mark, or first 30 seconds, he TP'd mid. Now, like, this morph is fine because he's morph. He's not gonna die to Pango, and lane is next to his tower. He can stick around for top. He can zone me out. He can make me go base with.
So remember how in the Void Spear replay he said, this was the dynamic of my lane, because of it not being good, I can leave. As support, I think it's kind of like the opposite. It's like, does your core need you? And if he does, you can't leave. But if he doesn't, you can leave. You can do other things. So Sumail's literally doing the same breakdown for his own lane as Void Spirit as he is for this Jakiro. And he's basically saying this Jakiro isn't needed top because Morph's fine. So he could be very impactful by like camping runes and stuff. And he just doesn't.
One Q and Ember Fist, I probably would need to go to base, and
he's also saying how much Jakiro would affect him by being here. So Jakiro's effect on top, negligible. Jakiro's effect on mid, drastic. And he's kind of like thinking, if this hero comes to my lane, if that happens, if they do this, then yada, 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 right?
I don't even get to see the rune.
Very
but I
big
don't have
vision of the
ops on me
game
right now.
being emphasized by
didn't get
Sumail
it
in
on
this
time.
video.
But just so this guy ran top for no reason. Like, it wasn't even like he was stacking on his way. And this lane is pushed. Pango's not having a good game, so I guess he has 3 kills, but he's low CS anyways. Morph is above him. So this, just because this guy decided to not secure the rune, it led up to his morph dying, which is a pretty bad thing for him. Like, he didn't do anything productive for the last minute. At this point, I'm Lina, so all I'm
Is this a
looking
support
for is
tutorial
to get
or a
my
mid
bots as
tutorial?
fast. Because I already made a move, a big move, so I'm not, I guess, I'm not sweating too much about doing something for my team, because the lanes are fine. So my move is to take runes from Ember, so his moves are weaker by default. Let's say if you get some arcane DD haste, it's easier for him to make a kill on any lane. But
Okay, so he's playing a farming type mid, right? Lena's much more of a farm-oriented mid. She likes to be hitting creeps most of the time. So he's saying that because he thinks his other 2 lanes are good, that his main concern as a farming mid, because you don't want to like over-farm, is that the opponent kills his lanes, right? Because remember last game, he was Void Spirit, he was in a bad lane, and he made the Doom's lane better by rotating. So his same thought is, this Ember's in a bad lane, maybe he could rotate and make one of my lanes that are good, bad. So he's basically showing you the different sides of both matchups, but like how you need to play in the mindset of both examples. I really like this. Like I think this is insanely valuable information, to be honest.
I got both the runes, so his game is also slowed down. He comes back to. So now from this point is I see my heroes and I see their heroes, and I know Lina scales pretty well into anything. So I'm just thinking about getting my bots and BKB Shadowblade, whatever. This is my objective at this point. Of course, if because of haste I ended up getting this kill, but there's nothing else on my mind other than get my bots at this point. And then we make this move, pressure Morphin tipping mid. They didn't get anything. So I'm also, and now I'm even more satisfied with what happens, because my Tiny gets a free lane top.
Every move
And
he
I
makes,
get
he's
to free
thinking
farm
what the
mid or
teammates get out
camps.
of it, and then what that means
So
for him.
this is all.
My move, what my teammates get, how that is interpreted by me.
All I'm gonna
Simple,
do for the next
but
few
yet
minutes.
so smart. Okay.
Okay, now I'm gonna show this lane. This is probably the most even matchup out of the three we talked about, or we're gonna talk about. The huge difference in this game is my support, Kodo, is super imbalanced. Or my Pango becomes super imbalanced because I have Kodo. And let's say if Storm had some... the thing is, Storm is one of the biggest catch in the game by himself, and he has Nyx and Bane, and they all do the same thing. So they don't actually help Storm that much, other than protect him somewhat. And I've...
Wait, there's synergies and heroes that do roles in the game, and you're supposed to think about that as a mid laner? Crazy stuff
speeds
here.
up my game and increases my damage by
Yeah, his vision of the game is just really well rounded
So
as a mid
even
laner.
before like whatever happens in the lane, I know this already, so it's kind of easy for me to decide what's gonna happen in this game. All I need is XP out of this lane and my Difu as fast as possible, and I know I will have more impact than Storm because every move he makes, he will have to pay a price for it. He would either have to go base or something like that. Whereas I will always be full mana, and if I'm full mana, I can do whatever on the map all the time. So this matchup is pretty even. Whatever we both get our bottle, and we do the same thing. The only difference is he farms small camp more efficiently than me, so he's gonna be slightly ahead all the time in the lane. He also has really slight edge in the lane. I would say it's exact number. If I had to say, I would say 53-47, kind of.
Yes, 53-47.
So he will have somewhat of a lead all the time, but it's not a big deal.
The high.
And yeah, for now it's just gonna be basic. I don't remember anything crazy happening. We both farm. His Nyx makes a move. So this is the move. This is the rune move. Their supports my supports chose to stay in lane because our bottom lane was losing pretty bad, actually. So and also my WD used TP, but he has boots, so I don't know what he was doing. He kind of messed up by not coming mid at all. Because if he was here as well, we could have gotten the storm kill. And I don't know what Coddle was doing as well. I guess our top lane is struggling. Both my side lanes are struggling, and both their side lanes are having a good time. So their supports are more free to make a move, which ended up in me missing out on this wave and actually dying.
So I don't know about you guys, but I keep taking away the fact that mid lane is always treated like a 1v1, and yet Sumail just keeps talking about what's happening in the other two lanes and how that affects him and how it like affects his decisions and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a very different
kind of
take
bad for my game
from what most people probably hear.
We didn't really get much out of it. I mean, when you're dying mid to both enemy supports and your supports are static, I guess you can only hope for that they're doing something better that you're not seeing right now, because you don't have much choice. Easier option is to get mad, which I usually do as well, to be honest, because it's a pretty like from fairness point of view, it's pretty stupid that I have to tank it, and so at this point I just have to trust my teammates in their ability to play Dota, I guess.
He sounds so in pain there. I have to trust my teammates in their ability.
And to accept the fact that it happened and I have to just look for the next play, and to also know that I still have Koro on my team, which was, by the way, griefing. I remember this game. He refused to play with me all game for the first 11 minutes, so slowed it down. Every lane I went to, he moved opposite, actually. But yeah, I mean, it was that move can easily make you tilt, but it's just on you to decide how to react. And also Storm got DD,
accountability.
and I have no DD, I have nothing. So there are a few scenarios like here I can choose to. I mean, the fact that he got the rune is also puts me at a disadvantage, because you can see I have no mana pretty much. Like if I use my Q on this camp, I can't actually TP, so I didn't TP. Oh, I didn't farm that camp, and
Notice how he's mentioning like the balance of farming and rotating. So as a mid, you have to farm, but he's not going to use mana that he would need to rotate in order to farm, right? So that's kind of like the give and take difference between a 1 and a
diving.
2.
So it was easier for me to make a move because it's close to my tower, so I know it's gonna work. It has a very high chance of working. And let's say if my Witch Doctor decided to be greedy and TP mid, I think it would ruin my game because I would be stuck bottom without a TP and have no mana. But he TP'd bottom and refilled my bottle, which kinda salvaged the situation a lot. But then my Ursa TP'd mid and instead of bottom, and this ended up happening.
I probably would have done the same thing as
the
Ursa, to be
Storm
fair.
can't really do this. But at the same time, I understand that his lane is bad, so there's no point for him to TP bottom. So pretty much, I sacrificed my game for a minute just so Ursa can get something, and which is fine because he's the carry. He's gonna pretty much most likely win us the game.
Please take note how much supports, good or bad movements, affect the game, guys. Just keep that in mind. He keeps
so
mentioning it in every replay he's shown
It's
us
fine
so
to
far.
give him the space, and as you can see, it's I farm camps faster than him, so I took the small camp, gave him some few creeps, and I was like, I mean, I could have given him this wave too, but I was like, yeah, fuck it, you know, I took it. And yeah,
I
so
think
this
you do
combo
have to
hasn't played
prioritize
with me
yourself a
once.
bit, right?
He
Like you
should
can't
have
just
TP'd
give
mid
up
there.
everything. So that's
I
what he's
told him
saying
to
there.
TP mid, and he just decided to TP top when there's no point. There's no way he can zone this Red King, and I have no mana, no nothing. Because what could have happened is he TPs.
Every move he's made, he's talked about how it's affected his team, right? And how it plays into like their games and making it easier. He talks about like giving his Ursa a game in this one. You know, he talks about Doom in the first one. What I'm gathering that you guys really need to hear is like Dota is a team game, guys. He's like, I'm doing this stuff for my team. And that's actually what he's saying. To win pubs, he's doing stuff to help his team. Weird. That is weird. Especially where in his bracket, like, he's way higher MMR than most of the people in his game. So he's like doing things that enable people that are lower MMR than him. But yet he's like, you know, 11K or some shit. So obviously this is a mentality that you have to take at pretty much any MMR, I would say. And then he's basically saying like, I'm enabling them with this move. This is because why? I need my coddle to TP mid to enable me because of this. And he just doesn't. So I can imagine being a better player in your games. You probably feel like you're doing more for your team than they're doing for you. And that's probably really tilting.
He uses Q on the wave. I Q it. I push
But
it
he
out,
still does it.
And
So that's
their
kind of
wave
like
is
the
gonna be in
message to you
tower,
guys.
Our wave. So they would have to react. They would have to react on the storm, or Nyx would have to just keep staying despite him being 6. But none of that happened. So
He's talking about exactly why people should do what they do, which I like a lot. A lot to learn from any role here.
Move to me. So
Honestly.
it's kind of big mistake he made, which is game ruining. So yeah, what ends up happening is I go mid because it's pushed out, and Rune is coming up. I think I play around it maybe, or no? Okay, so I am going top to my Koro, which he was sitting there for 9 minutes. And then as I'm walking there, he goes mid. Avengers and Ursa there already, who can get these creeps. So this guy refused to play together for first 10 minutes, and it slowed down our game so much.
I feel you, Sumail. I feel you,
He was
dude.
single-handedly losing us this pub, pretty much. Yeah, because I mean the thing is, I was flaming him all game, to be honest. And at some point, he did listen, and after that, it started working out for us. Because then, I forced Raid King out of top pretty much by making this move. If Caudle was there, we could have probably even pushed for this tower. But at the same
Once again,
time,
saying the
my
effect
Ember
of like what
needs
he's
XP
doing and how his
and,
teammates
gold.
play into it.
So I have to leave him the kill as well. And also him not being with me made him die to this storm. Gave him a solo kill on storm, which is pretty big. So yeah, overall he's actually just feeling this game. Even though he's 2 deaths, he's just griefing super hard. And I think maybe
Imagine you're trying to learn mid and you're like a lower MMR mid player and you're actually forced to support in Sumail's game and you're just this coddle.
Now he starts playing with me, yeah. He finally to refill my bottle and stuff. And then from this point onward, this game is gonna start looking better.
Oh my god, he
'Cause,
filled his
we're gonna
bottle,
start
gave him
moving to
mana,
the-
and smoked
we're
him? Holy
smoked.
shit.
We go for this tower. We get this tower.
Is this when the glory
We apply
begins?
some pressure on Wraith King. I think we kill him. Okay, yeah, we kill him once. I ended up dying, but it's a fine play because they're all stuck. I don't know why my Witch Doctor is bottom, by the way. I don't know this as well. If he was mid, he could have saved me. And but my Ember got a game out of it. He got some gold out of it, and my Witch Doctor also got gold out of it. Our side ended up dying, so I mean, in theory, this play should have been really good. We killed Wraith King once, forced them in their jungle, and only I died, but 2 of my players died anyways because they were in somewhat wrong.
So he's not letting the results dictate whether or not he would do the move again. He's basically saying because he feels like the move should have worked based on misplays or like mispositioning by some of his teammates, that he would do it again. So I really think if you have like a vision of why a play should work and it doesn't get executed properly by your team, Sumail is saying that he would do it again. And I think that's like a really important mindset for you guys is like if you make a play and you're higher, like as you're getting a higher rank and like trying to have a better understanding of Dota, have like a vision of why it should have worked or like why it wouldn't have worked. And unless it went the way you thought, try it again in the future. You know, it's like say everybody on his team was there, they pushed all their buttons perfectly and they all just died. You know, that's like an easy, okay, bad move type of situation. But like he's not letting it discourage him from making these moves in the future even though he's had failed rotations.
Wrong places.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it just depends on it depends on the mindset, to be honest, because obviously one guy out of 10 is going to be trying his best and maybe other 9 are just there to kill time, so they're not actively thinking about Dota all the time, or even when they're in the game they're kind of default mode. They just want to like play, you know. So what you can do is the best thing you can do is you do the right thing while telling your team to do the right thing, which obviously is super hard to do because in Dota you have to be thinking about yourself all the time, especially as a core. So dictating your team, especially your supports, who usually in the game don't have much to do, except for playing with their cores, it kind of be weird for you making the calls, but if that's the best way you can improve as a player yourself. If you only want to focus on yourself and not for plus 30 points or whatever, this is the best approach. Like you try to make the right move and you try to tell your team to make the right moves with you. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
So what he's saying is trusting your team may not be the best in each individual game because it may not work. But he's saying if you want to improve yourself over time and play for the long-term growth, that you should do that. Which that's like pretty wise words. I probably wouldn't give that same advice, and not because I think he's wrong, but because I think it's difficult to see the bigger picture. I honestly might shift my mindset because of this. Like I might actually rethink the way I coach people and advise people when their teammates are just shit. I think what he's basically driving home is that assume your teammates are going to play correctly with their heroes. Give them the benefit of the doubt and keep giving them a chance to prove you wrong if they're messing up. Because if you play to the vision of the entire game, you'll be a better player in the long run. But it may cost you games here or there. And this is speaking from somebody who's like top 20. So he probably has a lot more knowledge about how to reliably win games than me.
So the conclusion is a worse player would I don't know, try to get too much out of the situation. Like you would try to win the lane that you aren't supposed to win. It's just not designed by the game for you to win it unless you're smurfing. And understanding of what your hero does in comparison to enemy mid. And pretty much telling your supports what to do and how to do it with you, so it's the most effective. Those 3 things I would say most important. Yeah.
So my big takeaways from the course or from that video is that Sumail, he's not always the best at articulating, but the way he thinks about the game is just really clean. You know, that's what it feels like. He visions the game and he's like, well, if this happens, this is going to happen. But since my support didn't go here, now this happens. It's not so black and white. It's more so just like a flowing gradient based on the decision making of both sides. You know, the supports that camp mid, the supports that do nothing. If both your lanes are losing, both your lanes are winning. If there's like a close matchup like the Doom CK that you can like tilt in favor of one guy. So overall, I mean, I learned a lot watching that. I've honestly enjoyed pretty much every Gamerzclass video that I've watched. So I know this is a bit like of a sellout video for you guys, but I want you to know that like I think this is really good content coming from some of the best players in the world. And I'd like to remind you guys that if you look in the link in the description as well as the pinned comment, you can make sure you get access to these courses if you would so choose. It's only 99 cents for the first month, which is basically like a trial run, right? Because if you don't like it, you can always leave. But afterwards, it's going to be $10 a month. But these are some top tier players giving insight onto the game. So if you really care about improving, I definitely recommend Gamerzclass for people who really want to drill at home. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching this video with me at the very least. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for supporting the channel. See ya.